Welcome back, explorers. My name is Packer and welcome back to another Fakemon video. In today's video I've created a compilation for you of my latest 20 Pokemon. I hope you enjoyed them. Without further ado, here's my first Pokemon. For my first Pokemon, I've decided to create a regional form of Grape based on the leafy sea dragon, a cousin of the seahorse, which has appendages and limbs that look like seaweed. I always thought seahorses were more draconian in appearance than leafy sea dragons, and Game Freak has made the original Grape evolve into a dragon type, so for my regional variant it won't be a dragon type. Now, introducing Grape, Somnium form, the sea dragon Pokemon, a grass water type with the abilities Torrent, Chlorophyll and Swift Swim. Grape are found running about with each other near lagoons and rock pools. However, they are very shy and will use their natural camouflage to blend in with their surroundings when they spot someone they don't know. I think this Pokemon turned out excellent. It's exactly how I'd think Game Freak would do a regional form for Grape. What do you think? Now, onto my second Pokemon. I'll be creating an evolution for my regional Grape that will be its own Pokemon separate from Dragouge. As Dragouge is draconian, I will be creating a horse-like evolution for my regional with a friendly personality, as it no longer has the poison typing. Now, introducing Ikelpie, the sea dragon Pokemon, from Equus and Kelpie, a grass and water type with the abilities Torrent, Chlorophyll and Swift Swim. Ikelpie are known for hiding in swamps, bayous and other stagnant bodies of water, waiting for unwary trainers to pass by. When a trainer does pass by, they gallop out of the water, hurling the trainer on their backs and giving them a ride, running across both landscapes and lakes. I like this Pokemon a lot, and having a positive spin on the horrific myth of the Kelpie is what Pokemon has done many times before. Now, for my third Pokemon, I'll be creating a jinn Pokemon. Jinns are demons from the Arabic world, described in appearance as a human, snake or scorpion, and will create hybrid children with humans. So for my Pokemon, it will be a snake-scorpion hybrid, and I'll also have its body made of ginger, so I can give it the interesting typing of grass fire. Now, introducing Jinn Sting, the ginger jinn Pokemon, from Ginger and Sting, a grass fire type with the abilities Flame Body and Heat Proof. Jinn Sting like to lay in wait in their burrows, with only their tail emerge to lure in prey. Once prey is close, the main body launches fast to pin down its prey, allowing for the tail to deliver a final blow. This Pokemon has a great concept that I'll expand upon in its evolution. Now, onto its evolution, I'll create a Pokemon that's fairly muscular looking, with the different sections of its body, and I'll give the two heads different personalities, one being calm and the other more aggressive. A dynamic pose, arms stretched wide, ready for combat, as well as double fangs angled upwards on the tail. Now, introducing Ginorpio, the ginger jinn Pokemon, from Jinn and Scorpio, a grass fire type with the abilities Flame Body and Heat Proof. Ginorpio are regarded as one of the most disciplined Pokemon, marching around their territories day and night when they are not eating and sleeping. I enjoyed making this Pokemon as it was challenging getting the right body proportions for each section. I still think I could have done better with their snake head, although I'm still satisfied with it. I'll be basing this Pokemon off the character Tensei Leader, whose quirk is super speed. As well as exhaust pipes being part of his anatomy, his superhero costume is streamlined with ventilation holes to be more streamlined. So I'll need an animal that is fast, so I picked the gazelle to combine with these attributes of Ingenium. So I'll convert the horns of the gazelle into exhausts, as well as some golden boosters on its legs, and some more exhausts coming off the main body of the gazelle. And finally, I'll add spots to represent the ventilation of the suit. Now, introducing Ingazelle, the exhaust Pokemon from Ingenium and Gazelle, a steel type with the abilities Mirror Armor and Speed Boost. Ingazelle first appeared when a city was built on a savannah. They weave through traffic with ease and also clear polluted air by breathing it in. The city they reside in has very low crime due to their speed and intolerance of negative behaviour. I love this design a lot because I think it perfectly encapsulates Ingenium in Pokemon form. Now, for my second Pokemon, I'll be basing it off the character Minotaur. also known as the hero Grape Juice. His quirk involves taking the purple balls on his head and lobbing them at his enemies to immobilize their movements due to their sticky nature. The fact that his hero name is Grape Juice is quite funny, so for this design I'll combine a bundle of grapes with attributes of the Caped Crusader. I'll start with a few spheres to represent the actual grapes, with stick vines for legs. I'll give it arms and a cape made of leaves, and pose him like a image I saw of Minotaur. And finally, a leaf mask along with an unsure expression. Introducing Grape, the Grape Pokemon, from Grape and Minotaur. A grass type with the abilities Overgrow, Gluttony, and new ability Sticky, which lowers the opponent's evasiveness and speed if they make contact with Grape. Grape patrols orchards and vineyards, protecting farmers' crops from wild Pokemon. They are famous for almost always preferring female trainers, but at the same time female trainers almost always dislikes this Pokemon. Scientists cannot find any logical reasons for this. Looking at this Pokemon, I think I could improve upon its design, but at the same time I still like it. Now, the character Shoto Todoroki, whose hero name is just Shoto. His quirk gives him the ability to use both fire and ice powers. Shoto's hair is half white and half red, and he has a scald mark around one of his eyes, which represents his dark family past. If he uses one of his powers too much, he begins to overheat or freeze. When this occurs, he uses the opposite power to negate these effects. So he's the perfect balance, like a yin and yang symbol. I had the idea to combine the synchronicity of his powers with a panda, so I started with a bipedal figure. So I started giving it snowflake patterns on its arms and fire patterns on its legs, as well as a scald pattern around one of its eyes. From one of its arms, a fire emanates and the other has ice protruding out of it. And finally, I added a yin and yang symbol on its stomach made of fire and ice. Now, introducing Taipancha, the polar opposite Pokemon, from Taiji meaning the grey area between yin and yang, panda and temperature. A fire ice type with the abilities Blaze, Thick Fat, and new ability Freeze Burn, which swaps the typing of fire and ice type moves every turn. Taipancha was the result of scientists forcefully hybridizing two existing Pokemon together. Despite how it came about, it still wants to help people and Pokemon alike, in the harshest of deserts and the coldest of tundras. I enjoyed creating this Pokemon, and I prefer this fire ice type to Galarian Darmanitan. Now, the villain Tomura Shigaraki, also known as Tenko Shimura, whose quirk, called Decay, disintegrates matter. His clothing consists of black clothes that turn into rags during a serious battle due to his decay quirk. He also wears the embalmed hands of his victims as a reminder of his dark past. As he is quite a rugged and feral individual, I'll base his design with the Wolverine in mind. As for his quirk Decay, everything he touches turns into dust, so I'll also add the attribute of a black hole to his Pokemon design. So I'll start with the head of a Wolverine, baring its teeth with a crazed look in its eye, and then I'll add a fur sort of collar to represent the horizon of a black hole. As it will be a ghost type, I'll give it long furry arms and an elongated goldish body that becomes translucent at the end, where third hand resides. To represent the embalmed hands Tomura wears, I'll add boulders, one covering part of his face and the rest scattered along the body. Now, introducing Wolverine, the Decay Pokemon. From Wolverine and Disintegrate, a rock ghost type with the abilities Arena Trap, Curse Body, and new ability Black Hole, which destroys any items on the field. Wolverine are said to be spirit Pokemon from deep space. They are very erratic Pokemon and will disintegrate things they don't like, and they will wear rocks on its body that it used to win tough battles. There is also a theory going around that in the stomach of the Ultra Beast Guzzlord, a Wolverine may reside. Once again, I really enjoyed creating this Pokemon because, like the others, they have great concepts. I have 6 Pokemon designs which I entered in a competition. For my first Pokemon, I'll be creating an evolution for the grass starter called Sloth. Sloth is a sloth Pokemon with elements such as a tuft of green hair on its head, as well as quite big claws. Sloths live in South America where it rains a lot, and mid-stage Pokemon are known to be both unique and awkward, so I'll give it a raincoat poncho made of leaves. As for its face, I'll protrude its nose out a bit and give it a friendly expression, as well as a bit of a brown around its mouth. Its arms and claws are crossed like a monk, which will hint at what it will evolve into. Introducing Slothoncho, the sloth Pokemon from Sloth and Poncho, a pure grass type with the abilities Overgrow and Overcoat, and hidden ability Grassy Surge. Slothoncho are known for their relaxed and laid back nature, and are often seen walking around in nature, taking everyone and everything in. It can sense when an immense rainstorm is on its way, days in advance, and will make other Pokemon a raincoat poncho. This Pokemon is very charismatic and was fun to create. If Game Freak created it, then it would become my favourite mid-stage starter Pokemon. As grass-type Pokemon tend to be based off extinct animals, I'll base it off the giant ground sloth called Megatherium, which used to exist. It was big and bulky and would create smooth burrows, so I'll give it a secondary ground typing. As I've hinted at, I'll also combine it with a monk, so I'll start with the basic silhouette of a Megatherium and give it a bald spot on its head, along with hair running down the side of its head. Once again, I'll give it a friendly expression, and I'll pose one of its arms upwards and towards you like it can bring peace to an angry Pokemon. Instead of a raincoat poncho, I'll give it drapes that run down its back and both sides of the front of its body. These drapes are sometimes worn by actual priests, so it fits this Pokemon well, and they also will be made from leaves. I'll give the claws on its hands a dirt colour as well as give it stripes that run down its arms and legs. Introducing Monkterium, the monk Pokemon, from Monk, Terra meaning ground, and Megatherium, a grass and ground type, with the abilities Overgrow, Overcoat and Grassy Terrain. Monkterium are quite a lazy Pokemon, only emerging from their smooth burrows on Sunday. Once out of their burrow, however, they work tirelessly to help Pokemon in need, going as far as offering up their own burrow if needs be. If this happens enough, a Monkterium will create a cathedral-like burrow for the greater good of helping out the most Pokemon. I don't know how I feel about this Pokemon because it might need something else or something different. However, I still think it's a good design. The fire starter Pokemon Quick Kindle, which appears to be a Roadrunner with a white, red and yellow colouring. Roadrunners are known for their speed, so I'll develop this line with faster land-based birds in mind. The Chocobo is a fictional bird from Final Fantasy, and I'll use some of its attributes in this design, but it will mostly be just a transition between the final and first stage. I'll invert the fiery crest on its head and make it slightly bigger, as well as putting a fiery pattern on its beak. Then a blue pattern will be added to the neck and wing. Then the body will be covered in feathers in a fiery configuration. And finally, the white of the Prevo will become a grey ash colour. Introducing Chocobo, the Chocobo Pokemon from Chocobo and Coal, a pure fire type with the ability Blaze and hidden ability Speed Boost. Chocobo are very competitive runners and are said to have infinite stamina, as it has never been witnessed to be exhausted. If you race a Chocobo and don't put up a good competition, it will start to attack you relentlessly. Now, onto its evolution. I want to develop it into a cassowary, a real-world bird that runs very fast. As it runs fast, I will give it the electric typing and incorporate that into its biology. I'll turn the crest and wings into a lightning bolt that fire emanates off of. The beak and upper eyelid will also become thunderbolt shaped. The neck will be blue with red spots, and the main body will be more feral and fiery and a black colouring. The legs will be shaped like thunderbolts, and the whole silhouette is in a running motion. Introducing Blazellarate, the cassowary Pokemon from Blaze and Accelerate, a fire electric type with the abilities Blaze, Static, and hidden ability Speed Boost. Wild Blazellarate have never been caught due to their high speed and stealth. They mark their territories with scorch marks in the shape of a thunderbolt to ward off rivals. If it wasn't for this behaviour and the existence of its pre-evolutions, this Pokemon would still be unknown to science. This Pokemon, in my opinion, is the design of mine that conveys the soul of a Pokemon the best. I'll look back on this Pokemon to see how I can capture the soul of this Pokemon again. Now, the water starter Pokemon Iguana, which is based off the marine iguana with either eggshells or a white rock as a partial armour. Marine iguanas spend their time resting on land and have to enter the ocean in order to feed. So I'll develop this line with individuals who gradually evolve to become more capable of sustaining longer periods of time out at sea. For this mid-stage, I want to give it a partial sailor motif by giving it a sailor's cap that is just a couple of stones stacked onto each other. This mid-stage will also be responsible for transitioning between the right rock Iguana has and my stone of choice for the final stage, which is granite. So this mid stage will also have a mix of the two stones. I'll give it a couple of spikes at the side of its head and pose its arms in a way that it looks ready for battle, as well as stone hands, which hints at how it will evolve in the future. I'll also develop the tail to have stone fins so it can swim faster. Now, introducing Igala, the sailor Pokemon from Iguana and Sailor, a water and rock type with the abilities Torrent and Shell Armor. Igala spends most of its time in tropical regions, where it sets itself adrift from island to island on an adventure. On this adventure, they will try new cuisine and battle never before seen Pokemon. This Pokemon was a challenge, however, I think it turned out quite well. Now, onto its evolution, the final Pokemon of this video. I want to develop its sailor motif into that of a conquistador, who were a Spanish military who conquered Mexico and Peru in the 16th century. They wore interesting helmets and used maces as weapons, so I'll incorporate that into their design, along with some armor. Marine iguanas' heads are more square, so I'll develop this Pokemon's head realistically and place the unique helmet on top made of granite, along with some spike. The granite hands of the Prevo have developed mace-like claws to clobber its enemies with. A front plate of granite covers its chest with a spike protruding out of its chest, whereas the back plate has a couple of half hexagon fins. I'll give it a continuous stripe that goes from its head with a serious expression all the way down to its tail, which has developed bigger fins for sailing. Introducing Conquanet, the Conquistador Pokemon from Conquistador, Aqua and Granite, a water and rock type with the abilities Torrent and Shell Armor. Conquanet like to go on the hunt for colonies of other Pokemon to take over their home and rule over it with a granite fist. Once a territory has been secured, they can live out the rest of their days in this one location. I've created a new fire type starter evolution line, as well as a new Reggie. For my first Pokemon, I'll be creating a fire starter based on an ox. As it's the first stage in the line, I'll make it a calf. I'll give it a timid personality by giving it a shy looking eye, as well as placing its right leg behind its left so it looks like it's ready to run if scared. However, it will still face towards you as it is trying to be brave. I'll give it a big head and small horns, as well as a previously mentioned timid expression. And finally, I'll give it a dairy cow type sort of body blotches coloured red and orange. Now, introducing Timicalf, the calf Pokemon from Timid and Calf, a fire type with the abilities Blaze and Thick Fat. Timicalf are generally shy by nature, but they attempt to be brave in everything they do. They are seen in big groups in grasslands where they enjoy socialising with each other. Now, onto its evolution. I'll be creating a ox that has some features of a Highland cow. I'll give it horns that come down beside its face and curve forwards, as well as some shaggy fur on the top of its head and body. It will have a more confident expression, even a more relaxed smile can be seen on its face. The shaggy coat on top of its body is a Highland cow orange colour. Its face will be grey and its body will have red and black patches, and finally its tail will look like it's a lit fuse of a stick of dynamite. Now, introducing Radiotox, the Fire Ox Pokemon from Radiator and Ox, a pure fire type with the abilities Blaze and Thick Fat. It also evolves from Timikarth at level 17. Radiotox can be seen migrating in herds across vast mountain ranges. They enjoy battling each other, and if domesticated they can make a great farmhand. They do, however, have an aggressive streak when it comes to other bovine-like Pokemon, always wanting to defeat them in battle. Now, on to the final stage and final evolution of this line. As with almost every fire type line, this Pokemon will become bipedal, and I'll convert its Ox attribute into that of a minotaur. Another part of Greek culture is the brazen bull, which has a hollow metal ball that the Greeks used to execute other people by placing them inside and heating it with fire. To incorporate this, I'll give it the steel typing and give it a helmet, as well as metal gauntlets and other bits of scrap metal will be placed on its body. The helmet will have horns that face upwards, as well as a tuft of hair shaped like a mohawk, inspired by the Greeks' Roman neighbours. Its facial expression has become more serious on an elongated head. Its lower body has short stubby legs that are mostly covered by a tuft of hair that looks like torn clothing, and finally a tail with fur shaped like a flame. Now, introducing Minotaur, the Minotaur Pokemon from Minotaur and Char, a fire steel type with the abilities Blaze, Thick Fat and Iron Fist. It also evolves from Radiotox starting at level 36. Minotaurs are very serious about getting stronger. They will achieve this by going deep beneath a mountain and hardening their metal by mining out tunnels. The configuration of these tunnels form a vast maze that many Pokemon like to call home. Minotaur wait in the deepest parts of these mazes, waiting for strong Pokemon and trainers to fight. Now, I'll be creating a fighting Reggie, so I'll start off with a boxing glove for its head and give its body a fighting gi that of course contains the black belt. I'll configure the 7 eyes of its face that every Reggie has in a unique pattern, but I'll also give it a purple bruise on its face, surrounding 3 eyes which turn its white eyes black. As for its arms, I'll make it out of big chains that end with nunchucks for fingers. The gi will be slightly tattered, and finally I'll give it knee pads. Now, introducing Regifight, the mixed martial arts Pokemon from Reggie and Fight, a pure fighting type with the abilities Iron Fist and Unseen Fist. Regifight was a unique case because, unlike the other, it wasn't found asleep in its temple. It was found in its secret chamber, meditating beneath a waterfall, and scientists believe it spent millennia building inner focus. This is my favourite Reggie so far, and I believe it to be a good counterpart of another Reggie I created in another video. I also enjoy its shiny as a reference to Throw and Salt. Thank you for watching this video. I've enjoyed creating it. Please like, subscribe and share, as it helps me out a lot. Farewell for now.